Hi, Michael Lantz. Matryoshka doll from Russia means a lot to me. I've had this in my possession for a lot of years, and I owned it prior to going through a transformation where I recovered from a lot of stuff in my life. And there's some meaning and some story I want to share. My second grade teacher was Mrs. Wright. I remember her. In fact, I honor her for a lot of reasons. I honor her because she brought out the best in me as a second grader. Mind you, when I was a small child, I had massive curiosity. I still do to this day. And my mother bought these Encyclopedia Britannicas, filled up a whole library shelf, and I would go through those encyclopedias. It's like the modern day internet. We didn't have access to that. I didn't have access to the public library when I was 6 years old or 7 years old in the second grade. And it brought my world to life. I could go through there and I'd find stories, and I would just be so excited about sharing those stories. And when I got to Mrs. Wright's class in the second grade, she had the exact same encyclopedias in her classroom. Whoa. Now what's unique about this story is Mrs. Wright put me into contact with those encyclopedias, and she could tell that I was excited about them, just like I was at home. And she made me the keeper of the encyclopedias. Now interestingly, that year in that class, I never missed a day in perfect attendance. The last day of school, she brought home my report card, and inside of there was not only a silver certificate for perfect attendance. For those that don't know what a silver certificate is, I could take that little $1 bill, it just looks like a dollar, but it says silver certificate, to a federal treasury, and they'd have to give me silver for it. And then the note to my mother about what a joy it was to have me in her classroom, and that during the year she had to move me around to different places because I was always talking. And yet when I looked at my citizenship, she gave me like a B plus in citizenship. Yet, here's where the story gets interesting. In every other elementary school class I had during those years at Lincoln Elementary, first grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, every teacher, because there was handwritten report cards back then, every teacher wrote talking, 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 right on the citizenship line. Mr. Wood, my fifth grade teacher, had wrote music talking, and then he erased it, but you can tell. And in elementary, why would Mrs. Wright give me a B in citizenship, say I was a joy to have in classroom, and then she moved me around, and the other teachers wrote talking, talking. See, Mrs. Wright understood that that was my nature of just jabbering and explaining, and she put me by 4 new people around me, and I would just, yap, 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 and I would make friends with them. And she, I think, recognized that that was something that was unique in me. So instead of just putting me in one place to shh me all the time, like I'm sure the other teachers did, she moved me around, and she made me the keeper of the encyclopedias. You see, she saw the best in me and brought it out. When I was in high school, played basketball, played competitive basketball most of my life. My sophomore year in high school, they moved me up to the varsity toward the end of the season. That was pretty cool. First day in practice with the varsity, I'd been playing JV all that year, doing warm-ups, layups. I'm going in, I miss a layup in warm-ups. And of course, I get down on myself because I just wanted to do my very best. I was the young kid on the block. And Coach pulled me aside, Coach Booth, and he says, don't get down on yourself. You're good. You deserve to be on this team. So the next time you go in and do a layup, I want you to dunk it. Really, Coach? Wow. I went in, I dunked it. I remember the players like high-fiving me, and the coach was, did this number, and I just felt good. My junior year, that whole team came back. We had a great team my junior year. first 2 games of the season, we traveled from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, and we played Warren High School the first game and won. The second night, Saturday night, we played Downey, and we lost. We probably could have beat them by 20 points. We didn't play very good, didn't play as a team very good. And afterwards, we go to dinner, and Coach tells all the players to go back to their room. And I was room with Ricky Bartlett. Ricky was a free spirit. Ricky was a great baseball player. We were both left-handed. And Ricky's girlfriend was a cheerleader. And they were staying in our hotel in a different floor, different room. And Ricky says, I want to go visit my girlfriend. I said, Ricky, we can't do that. Coach told us to stay in the room. He says, well, I'm going. Are you going to rat on me? And I go, no. So Ricky leaves. And he comes back, I don't know, 20, 30, hour later. I don't really remember the time frame. And here we have a knock on the door. Bam, 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 bam. It's a Coach Booth knock. You could just tell. And Ricky's in the room, and he hides behind his bed. And he says, Mike, don't tell the coach I'm here. And I'm thinking, what the heck is all this about? Open the door. Coach Booth says, have you been in your room all night? Yeah, Coach, I have. And he says, where's Ricky? He's not here. Lie number 1. And then he goes, when did Ricky leave? And where did he go? And I go, I don't know, Coach. Lie number 2. I think the coach knew. Probably the advisor of the cheerleaders probably said something, and he does a room check and wanted to like get on us. And the next morning, Ricky and I was asked to ride with Coach Booth and the assistant coach from Vegas, or from LA back to Las Vegas, in like 4.5-hour ride, and we knew we were in trouble. We sat in that back seat, Ricky and I, we never said a word. And the coaches, like after an hour of traveling, started to talk to us. And the first thing that they said is, we're thinking about kicking you 2 off the team. Oh my gosh, you talk about a knife stabbing my heart. That was it. I wanted to play on that team so bad because we knew we were going to take state. And they then started to talk to us about honor, about team, about respect, and all of that. And I'm telling you, I felt so bad. I remember they could have punched me in the face and it wouldn't have hurt any worse than what I was feeling in my heart. And the coach says, well, come Monday, we're practice, we're going to decide if you're kicked off or not. I fretted and spewed all that way back Sunday night, go to school all day, just worried sick that I was going to get kicked off the team. And we get to practice, and we're still on the team. Had a practice, things were going, good. We ran our wind sprints at the end of the practice, and Coach Booth gets the team together. And he says to the team, he says, Mike and Ricky broke team rules. And we've decided to allow them to stay on the team, but we're going to run them as punishment. And he tells the team, he says, each of you can stay and watch. You could run with them if you want, or you can go in. And everyone stayed. Now what's unique about that is Coach never called me a liar. He knew I lied, but he didn't call me a liar. He knew that I was a dumb, stupid kid. And Coach ran Ricky and I lines. I remember it hurting like crazy, but that pain was nothing compared to the guilt that I felt about dissing my team members. And the team stayed. And every time we'd run, they were cheering us on. You guys can do it. Come on, go hard, go hard. And we all got together again at the end of practice, take state, and it was over. And that taught me so much later on. We were a great team. We won every game after that loss, 25, and won the state championship. And as I look back on those 2 experiences was so different than what I grew up with. My dad, bless his heart, was a good man, but he had some pride and shame going on. And he would judge me. When I was a little kid and I was, Daddy, look what I found in the encyclopedias. Look, I want to show you. Dad would call me names. Look, rubber lips, loose lips, rubber mouth. Why don't you just shut up? Trying to concentrate. Basically telling me as a young child, your opinion doesn't count. I don't care if you're excited about what you learn. You need to be quiet. He never affirmed my curiosity like Mrs. Wright did. Mrs. Wright brought it out. She knew that that was a great trait. My dad was all about his life, himself. I can't tell you how many times during my childhood he would say, you owe me. You owe me a roof over your head, food on your head, and you disrespect me. I mean, I heard that time and time again when that championship season, 26-1 we were. My dad didn't go to any games. What, Dad? Other dads are there cheering their kids on, not my dad. We'd play on Friday nights a lot, and come Saturday morning, I'd get up, and Dad would be out reading the newspaper already, and he would see the sports page. He'd say, yeah, I saw you and those ends won last night. I played with black athletes who accepted me wholeheartedly. We didn't see color on that team. We only saw Rancho High School green. But my dad, for some reason, had some serious insecurities about the black race. He was a racist. I mean, as I look back on it. And, he'd say that, and I, what? Again, not affirming who I was, what was important to me. My mother, unlike, again, Coach Booth, who saw that I might have lied, that I made a mistake, I wasn't a mistake. I was the third of 3 children. I have an older brother and a sister. And I was a oops, damn baby. Mom and Dad didn't plan on having any other children than the 2 that they had, and then I came along. And my mother was also, had some pride and self-conscious. Her self-worth wasn't all that great, and multiple times growing up when my mom would get upset. She could get upset easy, especially with my persistence and pester mom and mommy that take me here and there, and she would say, well, you're just a mistake. I mean, think about that. Would you ever tell a child that they're a mistake? My mom did multiple times. I can name several other instances and exactly the circumstances surrounding that. So as a child, not understanding, not having built up enough self-worth, that's what parents' role is, to accept a child unconditionally. I ended up having a lot of issues. I didn't believe in myself. I thought I was a mistake. And the difference between guilt and shame, see, I had a lot of shame. Guilt is like I felt with Coach Booth and the team. I felt bad. I knew I'd made a mistake. But shame, on the other hand, like my mother and father threw at me, I believed I was a mistake. Mrs. Wright and Coach Booth didn't believe I was a mistake. They brought out the best in me. That's what I try to do with people this day. And that's what this Matryoshka doll from Russia means. We have to remove layers of stuff. And like in this particular case, I have to remove the first layer. You open this doll up, and you'll notice there's another doll inside. So the first layer, I had to get rid of shame. I had to, Dad judging me. I was stupid. I should shut up. My curiosity didn't matter. I had to get rid of that layer of shame. I had to get rid of another layer of shame. This layer of shame where I was never affirmed as a child by my parents, other than I was tall. Oh, he's a tall boy. And then I had to get rid of another layer of shame. My mom telling me I was a mistake. I've learned I am not a mistake. Do I have imperfections? A lot of them, but I'm not a mistake. Do I make mistakes? Yes. Am I going to continue to make mistakes? Yes. But I'm not a mistake. One more layer. I have to get get rid of. Oops. Self-doubt. Not good enough. I'm not good enough to go after my dreams. I'm not good enough. I need to people please. I need to please others. I need to be a perfectionist so people will like me, because my caregivers, my parents, while they'll tell me they love me, they didn't accept me to get to who I really was. This little person right here. It's a first step in like living a life of second chances. We recognize, or I do, that I'm always going to make mistakes, but there's always a sunshine, like this bright sunshiny day that you can see behind me. So we have to remove these layers. The other thing that I've learned about all this is, I mean, here I am, and you got all of these layers that were events in my life. And oftentimes people take these events and they believe that they happen to me. See, I believed for years these happened to me. No, they were just events. They don't define me. What defines me is my true nature, this little inner child, Matryoshka doll. That's the true thing that defines me. Shame, and the interesting thing about shame is everybody has it. Everybody has some layers they got to get rid of. And the thing is, no one talks about it. No one recognizes it. No one can like say that, you know, this is who I am and talk about it. For me, all of that, these layers down here, they led to some bad stuff, like some addictions that I have. All addictions are shame-based. And when you're a child and you start getting layers, you start getting layers of shame put around you. One shame, Mike, you're not, your child not good enough. Mike, your dad doesn't go to the basketball games because you're not good enough. Mike, Mike, your little curious self doesn't mean anything. You need to act like I want you to act. Oh, you talk too much in school. You're a bad kid. I'm giving you a C. Giving me a C? Yeah, I did. I probably was bad talking, and I probably deserved a C, but you know, they like Mrs. Wright. She gave me a B+. Every other teacher gave me a C. Shame. Here's some steps that I have found that works really good to get rid of that. First, a story journal. Write your story. When I started to learn about all of these layers of shame and that there's this little child here inside of me, I discovered all of these incidents. I got story after story after story, not only of successes like Mrs. Wright and Coach Booth, but of shame, of a football coach slapping me, telling me that I was not good enough and I was making him look bad. And so you write these stories, and the beauty of that story is I didn't need any affirmation from anybody else. I was affirming myself. I was affirming that little child inside by writing this story, and I believed that my story was worth telling. Do a story journal. As I was learning to tell my story, the proctor of this class had us do an exercise. It's really good, and I had to write down my 5 greatest movies. I had to really think about that. I only have 3. I cannot think of 2 extra. And then inside of that those movies, I had to look at what my themes were in life. And the big one is redemption. Saving Private Ryan. I mean, on the surface, the movie was a great story about Captain Miller given this assignment, band these guys together, and they had to get Private Ryan back home to his mother because his brothers had been killed. And then the Germans invaded this town, and Captain Miller gave up his life for Private Ryan. And the part of the movie that really gets me, where I learned this theme, is when Private Ryan was older, came back to the cemeteries there at Omaha Beach, and I've been there. It's an awesome spiritual place to be. And Private Ryan came back and he's looking at the cross, the burial place of Captain Miller. And remember Captain Miller at the end of that movie when he was dying, and Private Ryan is there, and Captain Miller said, "Earn it, earn it." And then Private Ryan at the end of the movie goes to his wife, "Tell me I'm a good person. See, tell me I earned it." I'm getting chills now. Every time I tell that story, I get tears, but I did it on this post for you. So that's one of my themes, is redemption. Another one of my movies is Hoosiers. And I don't attach to Gene Hackman being the coach, although that's a good story. I attach to 3 of the players on that team, like Jimmy, the great player who was kind of in a shell that coach needed to get him to play, and Jimmy finally decided to play. And then the other player, that's dad was an alcoholic, that was an assistant coach, and how his dad embarrassed this kid. I get that. I mean, my dad was an alcoholic, embarrassed me multiple times growing up. And then that young kid, the 6-man, there was only a 6-man team, that everyone fouled out, and this kid had to go in and shoot a free throw. And Gene Hackman looks this kid in the eye and says, "After you make these free throws, we're going to go." And this kid goes in the game and nails it. I mean, yay for the scrub kid that can't play that's on the team. It's redemption. That's what I learned out of those 2 movies. The third movie is Shaq, and it's just a depiction of Jesus Christ and the redemption of the guy that was got to start over again, a second chance. Then you list, after you, in this storytelling, list your defining moments. And not your defining moments of triumph. Scratch those. Your moments of the most pain in your life. I filled up a lot about that. That allowed me to release all of these areas, every one of these levels of shame that covered my true self up, were stories. And that's all they were stories. These things don't define me. This does. And that's what I learned through writing my defining moments down. That's a step. And then the 5th step is rewrite your story. So I rewrote my story as if it was fictional. And I started it with far, far away in a faraway land. And it was a king and a queen. And I rewrote a story that affirmed this person. And as a result of that, I don't carry shame anymore. Matryoshka. That's what I want for you. Find yourself. You get second chances every day so that you can make your mark on the world. Take care. Bye now.